At 3:13 a.m., my boyfriend called me, while he was mid-hookup with someone else. Moaning. Breathing. Voices not mine. Then Caleb's whisper cut through the noise. I wanted you to hear what you've been missing. I nearly dropped the phone. My throat closed up. The laughter in the background wasn't ours. The creaking bed. The low gasp. It was all real. Then he said it, low, cruel. Now maybe you'll understand how it feels to be unwanted. Click. Dead line. Silence. But this didn't start at 3:13 a.m. It started 4 months earlier when I met Caleb in a seminar at Ashton University. He was an architecture sophomore, buttoned up, charming in that quiet, religious boy kind of way. I was industrial design, all tattoos and wireframes, writing energy drinks and half-sketched dreams. We bonded fast. Our first few weeks were long talks over lattes and class models, a growing intimacy that felt solid. He was deeply Catholic, said he hadn't done much physically and wanted to build something sacred. I respected it, even admired his restraint. But eventually, what once seemed like conviction began to feel more like a wall. He didn't like how often I stayed late in the studio. He didn't like when I laughed too hard around my friends. And when I told him I was pulling an all-nighter with my project team for our Form 50 sculpture presentation, he barely hid his discomfort. You sure it's just a project? He asked, lips tight. Feels like something else. I remember forcing a smile. We're not at Coachella, Caleb. We're modeling reflective hexagons. He hugged me goodbye like I was already guilty. His arms felt stiff, like he was checking a box, not holding me. I tried to let it go. Stress, right? Everyone's stressed. That night, my team booked a corner of the campus library, stacks of 3D prints, laptops glowing, caffeine flowing. Anna led the planning. Dev was in charge of renders. I worked on interactive lighting, sleeves rolled up, eyes fried, fingers dancing across the trackpad. It felt electric. By 10 p.m., I texted Caleb. We're deep in it, hope you're resting. Miss you. No reply. By midnight, I sent another. Still going. Project's coming out great. Talk soon? Read. No response. At 2:30 a.m., I tried one more. Almost there. Wish you were proud of me. Then, at 3:13, the phone rang. I thought maybe he'd finally called to say sorry. Instead, he called to break me. He knew exactly what he was doing. Knew I'd be working, knew I'd be vulnerable, knew I'd pick up. I sat frozen, the project forgotten, my stomach hollow. The Caleb I loved was gone, replaced by someone who wanted me to hurt. I stared at the wall, phone trembling in my hand, audio still echoing in my head. My teammates laughed in the distance, unaware. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat there, stunned, hollowed out by someone I thought loved me. My first instinct was to call Anna. When she answered, I couldn't speak, just breathed hard until she said, I'm coming. Stay right where you are. That was the moment I knew this wasn't a fight. It was war. Anna showed up in 20 minutes, eyes wide, breath fogging in the cold. She found me outside the library, hunched on a bench, phone clutched like it had burned me. What happened? She asked, kneeling beside me like I'd been hit by a car. I handed her my phone. I couldn't say it out loud. She listened for 6 seconds, just enough. Her face twisted, then froze. She didn't ask questions. Just hugged me and said, You're coming home with me. We walked in silence across the quad, past the glowing windows of dorm rooms still alive with caffeine and final stress. It all felt distant. My brain couldn't hold anything except his voice. Now you'll know how it feels to be unwanted. At Anna's apartment, I collapsed on her futon. She made tea. I didn't drink it. He did this to punish you? She finally asked, voice low. I nodded. Because I stayed out working. Because I didn't center him. She didn't reply right away. Then, that's not just toxic. That's calculated. He wanted to make sure it would scar. Scar was the right word. I wasn't angry yet. I was ashamed. Like I'd let myself be fooled into thinking love was safety, when all I'd built was a beautiful trap. I stayed at Anna's place that night. I couldn't go back to our shared apartment, couldn't stomach the idea of lying in the bed we picked out together, knowing what he'd done in someone else's. The next morning, I got the text. From Caleb. You should have been there for me. That was it. No apology. Just more of the same script, me as the betrayer, him as the hurt party. I stared at the screen for a full minute before texting back. I was there. Every damn time. But I guess I just missed the moment when you stopped showing up. No reply. That day I skipped class and walked aimlessly through campus. The final presentation had gone great, Anna told me. Our professor said it was one of the best executions he'd seen. I should have felt proud. Instead, I felt small. Like I'd won something that no longer mattered. By mid-afternoon, I decided to go back to the apartment. I had to face it. Him. The wreckage. He wasn't home. His side of the bed was unmade, but nothing else seemed different. Same jacket hanging on the back of the door. Same notes pinned to our shared corkboard. Then I saw it. A sticky note on my desk. Don't act like you didn't know this was coming. I felt something harden in my chest. Like a line had been crossed, and I couldn't go back to being the version of myself that forgave everything. I spent the evening packing. Not because I was sure I was done, but because I needed distance to think. As I folded shirts into a duffel, I remembered something I hadn't told anyone, not even Anna. Caleb once said back in October, "I've been with people before, not like that. But emotionally, it messed with me." He didn't go into detail. Said he'd been used, then vowed he'd never feel powerless again. Now I understood. Caleb didn't just want love. He wanted control. And the night I chose myself over his insecurity? That was the night I became the enemy. Caleb came back 3 nights later like nothing had happened. He dropped his keys in the bowl by the door, took off his shoes, and glanced toward the bedroom like he wasn't sure if I'd still be there. I was. Sitting at the kitchen table, phone face down, the same hoodie I'd been wearing for days still clinging to me like a second skin. He looked at me like I was the one who owed him an explanation. "Hey," he said, voice casual. Too casual. "I figured you'd gone to your sister's or something." I didn't move. "You called me while you were with someone else." He nodded, lips twitching into a thin line. "I know. That was it." No elaboration. No apology. He poured himself a glass of water, like we were discussing a parking ticket, not emotional sabotage. "You planned that, didn't you?" I asked. He paused mid-sip. "I was upset. I didn't know how else to get through to you." "To get through to me?" My voice cracked, rising. "Caleb, you could have talked to me. You could have said anything. But you chose to perform pain for me. Like some sick morality lesson." He stared at the floor. "You left me behind. You mean I didn't cancel a project night to babysit your jealousy?" I said. "Is that what betrayal looks like to you?" He slammed the glass down. "You don't get it. I've been patient with you. With your world. With your people. Your parties, your late nights, the way you flirt and disappear into that chaos." I stood up, heart pounding. "So you punished me." His jaw tensed. "I reminded you that you're not the only one who can be chosen." That line, it broke something. I walked past him into the bedroom and threw open the closet. My duffel bag was still half-packed. I shoved the rest in. "You don't get to weaponize your pain," I said as I zipped the bag. "Not to teach a lesson. Not to win. That's not love, Caleb. That's emotional blackmail." He followed me to the door. "You're not even trying to understand where I was coming from." I turned. Finally asked the question I'd been avoiding since the moment he dialed my number that night. "Why me, Caleb?" He blinked. "What? All your fear, your anger, why aim it at me? Why pick me to test your trust issues on?" His silence said everything. I don't think he'd ever asked himself that. "I loved you," I said, voice shaking. But I will not be your villain just because you're too afraid to look at your own wounds. He didn't try to stop me. Not as I slung the bag over my shoulder. Not as I opened the door. Not even when I stood on the threshold, waiting, hoping, deep down, that he'd say something, anything that resembled the person I thought I knew. Instead, all I heard was the echo of his retreating footsteps as he went back to the kitchen. I left. That night, I stayed at a cheap Airbnb with flickering lights and a bed that smelled like bleach and old cigarette smoke. But it was quiet. No whispered threats. No manipulation disguised as love. Just quiet. And for the first time in weeks, I slept. I didn't hear from Caleb for 5 days. No texts. No calls. Just silence. And I needed it. Those nights alone, away from the space we once called ours, were strange but clarifying. The longer I stayed gone, the clearer it became. He didn't want a partner. He wanted a mirror that didn't talk back. But closure has a way of clawing its way back in. It came in the form of a message. A single line, mid-afternoon, while I sat in a downtown coffee shop with Anna, trying to pretend I could focus on class critiques. You never even asked why I did it. I stared at it for a long time, then showed Anna. You already did ask, she said. Back at the apartment. He didn't answer then. Why would now be different? Because some part of me still wanted to believe there was a reason that would make this less cruel. Less personal. So I replied. Then tell me. 20 minutes later, I was standing outside the art building, phone pressed to my ear, listening to Caleb breathe on the other end of the line. When I was 16, he began. I found out my mom was cheating on my dad. I walked in on it. I never told anyone. He exhaled sharply, like he hadn't spoken that aloud in years. She begged me not to. Said if Dad found out, it'd destroy everything. She made me promise to keep the family together. So I did. His voice was calm. Measured. But beneath it, I heard the fracture. And he found out anyway. He said. Left that night. Didn't even pack. He paused. I didn't speak. She told me it was my fault for not telling sooner. Said I should have warned her. That I'd failed her. Now I understood. He wasn't just angry at me. He was reliving the night everything in his life cracked open. And in his mind, my all-nighter, my distance, my independence, looked like betrayal all over again. I didn't plan to hurt you like that, he said. But when I called, I don't know. I wanted you to feel what I did that night. Alone. Replaced. I swallowed hard. So instead of facing that pain, you recycled it. You made me the stand-in. He didn't deny it. I was scared you were slipping away, he said. I thought maybe if I shook the foundation, you'd come running back. I closed my eyes. You didn't shake the foundation, Caleb. You detonated it. Silence. I want to make it right, he said finally. I'll go to counseling. I'll do whatever it takes. And here it was. The crossroads. I could hear the fear in his voice, real, raw. The offer to change was sincere. But the damage was already woven into the walls. And I wasn't sure I wanted to live in a house that needed this much repair. I believe you mean that, I said gently. But believing you doesn't mean I'm staying. You still love me? He asked, barely a whisper. I do, I admitted. But I also love me. And I won't sacrifice myself just to heal what someone else broke in you. I hung up. That night, I walked alone through campus, letting the wind sting my cheeks, letting the ache settle into something steady. Caleb's darkness didn't start with me. But he handed me a shovel and asked me to dig my own grave inside it. And I refused. 2 weeks after that last call, I saw him again. Not planned. He was across the room at a campus exhibition, our department's spring showcase. The gallery buzzed with soft jazz, murmured critiques, and the smell of fresh paint. I was there to support Anna. Caleb? He stood alone near a minimalist structure made of suspended wire frames. It was cold. Geometric. Isolated. Fitting. He didn't notice me at first. He was scanning the crowd like he'd misplaced something important. Then his eyes found mine. He started toward me, slow. Like maybe if he moved gently enough, I'd forget everything between us. But I didn't move. Didn't flinch. I just looked at him, steady, and let him come to me. "Hi," he said, voice tentative. "Hi. You look good," he said, like we were playing catch-up. "I feel good." He hesitated. "I'd been going to counseling. On campus. Every week." "That's good," I said. "I hope you keep doing it." "I will." He nodded, then added, "Are you seeing anyone?" I smiled politely. "I'm seeing myself more clearly than I ever have." That landed harder than I intended, but I didn't take it back. He looked down at his shoes. "I thought about calling you. A lot. I almost did, every time I wanted to tell you something real." "You could have," I said, calm. "You just didn't." We stood in silence for a long moment. I think he expected me to soften, to say we could try again. He still didn't understand. Love without safety isn't love, it's war in slow motion. "I'm happy for you," I told him honestly. "If you're really doing the work, I hope you become someone you can stand to live with." His mouth opened, then closed again. He nodded, eyes glassy. "I was terrible to you." "Yes," I said. "But I was good to you. And that's what I'm walking away with." He nodded again. That time, it looked like surrender. I left the gallery feeling weightless. Like I'd finally dropped a bag I'd been dragging uphill for months. That night, I returned home to a space I'd made my own, new prints on the walls, a second-hand couch Anna helped me carry up 3 flights, a half-dead cactus named Jules I was trying to revive. My place wasn't perfect. But it was mine. In the weeks that followed, I started building again. Not furniture, not models. Me. I went to the gym. I took photos again. I laughed hard with friends over brunch and didn't check my phone for his name. I realized something profound. The people who love you don't make you smaller to fit their fear. They stretch with you. They grow. And Caleb? He wasn't evil. He was just unwilling to grow. That was his choice. Leaving was mine. And healing, that's still happening. Not all at once. Not clean. But it's mine.